Hi everybody, I'm Allie,
I'm Chad.
and this channel is Floating Gears.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about what our plan is here. So we had a crazy idea to just up and quit our jobs, and we decided we're going to go drive truck one day after we ran heavy equipment for years. Our kids are grown up, they're out of the house. Me and my wife are the only ones here, and our dog and cat. So selling everything and just hitting the road. Went and bought a truck in Indiana. We live in Pennsylvania. Ain't never drove a truck before a day in my life. Went and got our CDLs, got all of our endorsements, found a truck in Indiana. Took us like 3 months to find a truck. Found one in Indiana, drove to Indiana and got the truck, got it back home, no problems.
Yes, praise the Lord.
Yes. And by the way, today's Sunday, it's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And
This is just a quick video before we go to
Yes.
church. We're just hurrying up, and I know that our first videos are going to be amateur-like and whatever. We just hope that you guys will stick around and watch our ups, watch our downs. We're going to mess up. We're going to do great.
yeah,
We don't know what we're going to do. Yins don't know what we're going to do, but hopefully Yins will stick around and
you'll get to
just
see
watch.
what we get to do.
Yeah. We're going to
That's
introduce
good or bad.
you to our truck, which we named Second Chance. And the reason we named it Second Chance is because we had a second chance. We are now Christians. We gave our lives to the Lord. And we know with Him behind us and with Him guiding us, we know that we cannot fail. We possibly cannot fail with Him. We've done it years and years and years our way and always came up short. But with the Lord, you cannot come up short. And like it says in the Bible, if the Lord is with you, who could be against you, correct?
Amen.
So Chad's going to take over and introduce you to Second Chance. I'm going to go get ready for church, and we're going to get out of here. And just so you know, if we don't, hopefully we see you on the next one. But if we don't see you here, we'll see you there.
All right, guys. So I'll tell you a little bit about the story. So we got the crazy idea. I looked for like 3 months, found a truck. She's pretty too, wait till you see it. Found the truck in Indiana. Got a hold of the guy, got everything squared up with him. Made the trip out to Indiana. The truck was actually better than what I thought it would be when I got there. It's a 2001. But she's pretty and it's in good shape. So, your Second Chance. 2001 Peterbilt. It's got a kitty cat in it, 13 speed. Oh, she's pretty. She's a beauty. I'll tell you a little bit about it. So, I ran to Indiana and looked at this truck. I was so disappointed because I've looked at so many trucks. And I don't know, the pictures that they showed me of the truck and put online wasn't the same trucks when I got there. The whole underneath's covered in grease. The truck's rusted. Like, this truck's in good shape, man. Like, she is really in good shape. When I got there, the truck was nowhere near. It must have been the pictures when they bought the truck, because when I got there, it was not the same truck that was in the pictures. So the guy was good with his word, and that's what made me believe him when I got there, because everything he told me on the phone was the truth. When I got there, I was like, I believed everything that he said about the truck, because I was not disappointed at all. So we get there, take the truck for a test drive. He was actually just selling it. He sells trucks. So he was selling it for a friend of his that has a fleet of trucks. And they had purchased a few new trucks, and they're paying on the insurance on the truck that's sitting there on that lot in case somebody vandalized it and they wanted to get it moving. So he dropped the price on it, and of course I talked him down to dropping a little bit more when I got there, because, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I got there. The only problem I seen with this truck, I laid down, looked up underneath of it. I didn't even see, there's no grease, there's no oil, nothing under this truck. Like, it is clean, guys. It is clean. So I checked it all out and took it for a test drive. The only problem I seen with it was the front tires. The front tires was the only problem that I seen with the truck. A little bit right on the outside edge, like right here on the edge of the tire. It was ate up a little bit right here. So I asked the guy, I said, is the kingpins bad? I said, if they are, just let me know. I said, because I really like the truck. If that's the only thing wrong with the truck, I'll get it fixed. And he was like, the kingpins are not bad. So they called down, had the mechanic. They sent the mechanic up that serviced this truck, worked on this truck for years. They sent him up to talk to me. He was like, I don't know any what they've told me, so I'll get the man that took care of this truck. He can tell you from front to back all about this truck. He's the one that worked on this truck. So he came up and he talked to me about it. And I told him the same thing. I said, the kingpins are bad. He said, I'm gonna be honest with you. He said, my boss took the tires off the front of this truck and put them on a fleet truck that we had. Those tires came off of one of our fleet trucks that the kingpins are bad in, and it started to eat the tires. So he was selling this truck, and they wasn't even that bad, just a little bit wore on the outside. So he said he threw them on this truck just because he knew it was going down the road and it was going to be somebody else's problem, and put these tires on that truck. So that's what he did. And I got it home, I took it, got new tires put on it, on the front of it. That's 22.5, put Michelin on it. And them things aren't cheap at all. I think it was like 1,800 bucks here where I live for these tires. There they are. Nice, they're nice tires. But anyway, look how clean this thing is, man. This thing is clean. Like there's no couple little spots, like barely any rust, like around a bolt or not, but like up underneath of it even, like it is clean, guys. Like this truck is clean. So anyway, tell you the story. We got this crazy idea, like what started back about 10 years ago. When me and my wife first got together and we was dating, I seen her paycheck and I was like, you live on that? I said, for 2 weeks? And she was like, yeah. And I was like upset about a paycheck. And I was like, my paycheck's $300 short. I should have had like close to $3,500 this week. And she was like, what? She was like, you know, it takes some people a couple months to make that much money. And I said, yeah, but still they owe it to me. I said, it's mine. I put in the hours. And don't get me wrong, we was putting in a lot of hours. We was putting in like 90 hours a week. And I told her, I was like, but still they owe it to me. I said, you want a job? Because I was one of the bosses there. And I said, you want a job? And she was like, Chad, I can't do that kind of stuff. I said, sure you can. I said, just like driving a car. I said, that haul truck's just forward and backward gears. I said, and a little button to dump the bed. As long as you're setting level, you'll be all right. She was like, no. So the next day I went to work. I said, hey, I got somebody that's going to start tomorrow. He said, who? I said, my girlfriend. At the time, it was my girlfriend. I said, my girlfriend. So I took her. I came home at night. He was like, all right. He said, how long she drove the haul truck? I said, 5 years. So he said, yeah, bring her tomorrow. So I take her to work with me. I came home the following day and I said, hey, I said, do you want a job? She was like, Chad, I told you I can't do that. I said, sure you can. I said, it's easy. You can do it. She was like, I'll try it. So I take her to work and she was like, man, look how big that truck is. Well, we had her truck sitting there waiting for her that morning in the parking lot, waiting for her to get in it. The guys was up there checking it out before she got there. So we pull in and she was like, that thing is tall as our house. I said, yeah. She was like, wow, who drives that? I said, you are. She was like, oh, no, take me back home. I said, come on, don't do this to me in front of the guys. I said, I told them you've been driving for 5 years. She said, Chad, you shouldn't have lied to those guys. I said, well, it's either you go back home, I look like I'm crazy. I said, and probably end up losing my job. I said, because I told them you drove a truck for 5 years. I said, you're going to have to get in here. I'll go with you. You'll be fine. She said, you're going with me? I said, yeah. I went one time with her up over the hill, dumped, we came back down. I said, hey, stop right here. She said, well, you got to run to the bathroom or something? I said, no. I said, I got to go over there, I said, and get in that 349, I said, and load these haul trucks. She said, what am I going to do? I said, you're going to back in here with them guys. Just watch them and do the same thing they do all day. She starts yelling when I'm getting down out of the truck. She's like, Chad, I can't do it. I said, you'll be fine. Run it like you stole it. Long story short, she ended up becoming the best haul truck driver they had on the whole job site. It was at a coal mine. He was putting in a 100-acre slurry pond. She ended up being the best equipment operator they had there. I showed her down the road. One day I was working down over the hill. Everybody was gone because we put in long hours. The other people was barely getting in 40. They didn't want to be there. We was putting in like 90, and I needed a dozer, and it was way up on the hill. I yelled on the radio. I said, where's the dozer? And she said, it's sitting way up here on the hill. And I was like, oh, never mind. She's like, a couple minutes later, she's like, how do you start this thing? And I said, why? She's like, I'll bring it to you. And next thing I know, I see her going out across the hill, bringing it to me. So that's just the crazy stuff that we always do. Like, it's spared the moment stuff that we do. But man, you guys need to stick around. If you haven't hit the like button and the subscribe button, you got to hit it, because you're going to see some crazy, funny stuff. You're going to see some good content. There's a lot of stuff ordered for the truck already, little stuff. You guys got to stick around and see the stuff that's going to happen. But it's going to be a crazy and fun journey. And we want you guys to be here with us to see it.
Yeah,
My beautiful wife again.
We don't even know what's going to happen. So everything that happens is going to happen to all of us together. So we got to go to
meantime,
church.
we got to go to church. So if we don't, like we said, if we don't see you here,
We'll see you there.
we'll see you there.